Many Trump supporters feel that there are major differences between Trump and Hillary Clinton. But Cruz supporters, many of them, believe that there is no difference and that there is really no point in voting for Donald Trump because they say, well, they're one and the same. So why do anything about it? Stay right where you're at because I want to talk to you about that today. And I want you to hear what I have to say because I think you will find it to be very, very convincing. Most of us who have spent time studying political science and the entire political process will agree, whether you're on the right or the left, meaning whether conservative or liberal, that Supreme Court justices are a huge part of why we vote for the president, for the presidential candidates that we vote for. When it comes to Roe v. Wade, who took that case? The Supreme Court. Okay? And the Supreme Court ruled in favor, and as a result, abortion is legal in the United States, regrettably. And that's just a fact. Things that are taken up with the Supreme Court. We have conservative justices, we have liberal justices, and they are appointed by the President of the United States, and they are lifetime appointments. We have several on the bench right now that could, within the next 8 years, retire or no longer be on the bench because, as I said, lifetime appointments. Now let's talk about something. If you disagree with Donald Trump on other issues, so be it. But there are differences between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. You can go to their websites to find that out, and you'll see the differences on a host of issues, from gun control to immigration to healthcare to taxes to abortion and so much more. Now, am I saying that Donald Trump is perfect? No, I'm not saying that. But remember, we're not voting for a commander-in-chief. We're not voting for a pastor-in-chief. We're voting for a commander-in-chief. Now let me tell you this, going back to the Supreme Court. Donald Trump has said that he would vote, or appoint, I should say, conservative justices. I want you to listen to something that I think you will find very compelling. Because you have to pull back the curtain. You have to sift through all of the junk and the hype, because it's all over. It's rampant throughout social media. Oh, Trump's evil. He's the devil. He's this. He's that. Let's stick to the facts. Pat Robertson did an interview with Donald Trump, and this is what he had to say when it came to Supreme Court justices. And again, we all agree, whether you're liberal or conservative, that we have to have the right kind of Supreme Court justices because it can affect generations to come. It can affect the outcome of a lot of serious issues that affect Christians. You know, we can get up and quote Bible verses all day long, and that's great. I'm a Christian. I'm a born-again Christian. But, actions speak louder than words. It's not enough just to quote a Bible verse once in a while. It's also important to actually stand up for Christianity and for the beliefs of Christians. This is what Pat Robertson, what he asked Donald Trump. This is courtesy of rightwingwatch.org. Now listen to this.
So one more question. In your selection as president, what criteria would you use to pick somebody? Pro-life?
What criteria would you use to select somebody? That is the question. What criteria?
Criteria would you use to pick somebody? Pro-life? Pro-life.
We want. Starts with that.
Pro-life. Did you hear that? Pro-life. That's what Donald Trump told Pat Robertson at CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network. And let me ask you a question. Do you believe that if Hillary Clinton, not that she would have probably been invited there, but had she been invited there, seated right next to, seated across from Pat Robertson, do you honestly believe that she would have said pro-life? Do you really? Set aside all of the competition between Cruz and Kasich and Trump and all these other people. Do you really, really believe that she would have said pro-life? You know you don't. You know you don't, because it's not true. She would have probably said something like this. Well, you know, Reverend Robertson, Pat Robertson, with all due respect, you know, I admire you, blah, 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 but you have to know that I believe in a woman's right to choose, and I would pick Supreme Court justices that would reflect that type of policy, not just on that issue, but on other issues like gun control, and et cetera, et cetera. Let's hear the rest of the interview. It's just very quick.
Very conservative, very, very smart. I mean, like Judge Scalia would be a perfect, you know, he was a perfect representative. I've always said that Justice Thomas doesn't get enough credit.
He's a wonderful man.
He is.
Justice Scalia and Justice Thomas, they have, you know, in the last, you know, several decades have probably been considered the most conservative of Supreme Court justices, Justice Scalia, Justice Thomas, two of which that Donald Trump said that he admired greatly and would love to have Supreme Court justices like them.
And he's a wonderful guy.
Yeah.
And I've always said, and as I said, Judge Alito is a terrific guy. So in that realm is what we're talking about for me.
I want to ask you, after the election, will you please come back as president?
Okay. So there you have it. So Justice Thomas, Justice Scalia, these are the type, Justice Alito, these are the type of justices that he would like to see nominated if he were president of the United States. Do you really believe that Hillary Clinton, oh, but everybody says Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are the same. If for no other reason, but that right there, if you are conservative, you are sorely mistaken and sorely wrong if you believe that Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are the same, and you choose not to vote for Donald Trump and write in an insignificant third party or stay at home. You are, in essence, standing up for Hillary Clinton is what you're doing. That's what's happening. And you need to acknowledge that, because that is the fact right there. Because when it comes to issues of gun control, when it comes to pro-life issues, and so much more, we all have to agree that the Supreme Court plays a big role in this, and it could affect for generations to come. Now, in closing, I want you to hear something else, because if they are so much the same, then let's listen to what Chelsea Clinton, the daughter of Hillary Clinton, said about Supreme Court appointments. You'll find this very informative. Here's Chelsea Clinton, and this is interview that she did, and we get this courtesy of the National Shooting Sports Foundation. This is regarding the Supreme Court, Second Amendment
My
rights.
mom also recognizes the role
This is also courtesy of MSNBC.
the Supreme Court has when it comes to gun control. With
She recognizes the role of Supreme Court when it comes to gun control.
Justice Scalia on the bench, one of the few areas where the court actually had...
Oh, look, she just mentioned Justice Scalia. With Justice Scalia, that's the justice that Donald Trump told Pat Robertson that he admired and would like to see justices like Scalia, a conservative justice. But here we have, and Justice Scalia hasn't even been gone that long, and here we have Chelsea saying, well, now that Justice Scalia is gone,
record relates to gun control. Sometimes the court upheld local and state gun control measures as being compliant with the Second Amendment, and sometimes the court struck them down. So if you listen to Moms Demand Action and the Brady campaign, kind of major efforts pushing for smart, sensible, and enforceable gun control across our country, and Disclosure have endorsed my mom, They say they believe the next time the court rules on gun control will make a definitive ruling.
The next time, she's saying if her mommy gets voted in as president, because justices like Scalia, the conservative ones, that they stopped it. But when her mommy becomes president, that what's going to happen? That they're going to make a definitive ruling on gun control. Your Second Amendment right, the right to bear arms. So this notion of Donald Trump being just like Hillary Clinton is absolutely ridiculous, because they're not. They're not the same. Even in the Clinton camp, even the liberals will tell you that. Oh, there are issues that I disagree with Trump on greatly. Okay. But I'm looking for someone who will defend the faith, defend the Constitution, and to be a commander-in-chief. I'm not looking for necessarily a pastor-in-chief. I want to conclude with this one quote here. This was an interview that was conducted by David Brody, one of the leading journalists with the Christian Broadcasting Network, which is part of the 700 Club, Pat Robertson's organization. And this is on thepoliticalinsider.com. Notice what it says here. It says, in an interview, this is from Donald Trump, quote, "One of the things that I have learned this weekend being in Iowa, I met with a lot of national security experts and everything else, that if you're a Christian living in Syria, you can't come into this country. Yet, if you are a Muslim living in Syria, you are not under attack, they can come in. But we have Christians being beheaded all over the world by ISIS. In Syria and in Iraq, in particular, those Christians can't come into this country. You say that you say what you want, but this is really something. That's a lack of respect for us. If you're a Muslim, you can easily come into the country very easily. You can also come into Europe. But if you're a Christian living in Europe, you can't come, meaning it's almost impossible." This was an interview between David Brody of the Christian Broadcasting Network and Donald Trump, courtesy of PoliticalInsider.com. Now, let me just say something. I have not heard Hillary Clinton say anything about the seriousness of Christians being persecuted and beheaded around the world. I haven't heard it. I haven't. As a matter of fact, I haven't even heard other Christian conservatives within the Republican Party talk much about it. But Trump has. There's your quote right there. So during this election, I know many of you are frustrated because maybe your candidate didn't win in this primary season. That Cruz didn't win. That Kasich didn't win. That Rubio didn't win. Whoever your candidate was. Most of you in the Cruz camp, because he had probably the most viable chance. He had the greatest chance. And I know there's a frustration there. But to not come together during this general election because you're hurt and you're frustrated and your team lost, and then to say out of that frustration that Trump and Hillary are the same, you're sorely mistaken, because they're not. He's not perfect. I'll be the first to say that. But on these important issues, when it comes to, and last thing I want to say, when it comes to this issue of the Supreme Court that can affect the lives of Christians, conservatives, on a wide range of topics, when it comes to that, if Hillary Clinton is elected and she appoints those types of justices, and you didn't vote against her, then you will have, I believe, a lot of regret. And you'll say, why did I let my emotion get involved? Trump could betray us. He could disappoint us. But at least we have a chance. And I believe we have a moral obligation. If we're going to stand up for conservative principles and try to have Supreme Court justices that are conservative, then in this election cycle, because he is on